everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Flock's Nest Sports Podcast. As always, one of your hosts, Dallas Reppin 52,
Two.
Ray Lewis of the Baltimore Ravens. I was like, it's not 4, and I think it's 3 for some reason. I don't really know what's going on today, y'all. We're here, though.
We are. And then as always, on the other half, Brendan repping 54, Bobby Wagner of the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, hopefully the rest of the episode is a little bit more smooth than that was, but we've got a pretty good episode for you guys today. We're going to do things a little differently. We don't really have a breaking news segment, but we are going to talk all of the major sports, basketball, women's basketball, hockey, and football. So let's dive right in. Brendan, let's talk NBA.
Yeah, so we do have a really unfortunate piece of news in the NBA as Victor Wembanyama has been ruled out for the entire season due to a blood clot in his arm shoulder area. So really sad, really hoping that he everything goes well with that, that they sit him and everything gets better. I think he's going through further testing to make sure everything is good. So obviously pushing for his health, hoping that all is clear and he can return next year healthy and ready to go.
Yeah. Unfortunately, these things do happen. Testing is to make sure it's kind of a one-off, not a condition where it will continue to happen.
Yes.
You have to take 6 months off because he has to be on blood thinners for at least 6 months, and you cannot play a major sport on blood thinners. So the hope is it's a one-off, clear his system, and come back good, healthy, and ready to go. Obviously, a premier player in the NBA, great athlete, great basketball player. Just want him back. He makes the sport better. He makes his team better, of course, and it's always unfortunate. We've talked about this a little bit with other athletes, and when your body just fails you,
Yeah.
like
simply says
it's
no.
yes, and it's not an injury he got playing basketball. It's just failing him right now. So hopefully
It's not a chronic thing or a
yeah.
consistent issue. So pulling for Wemby, hoping that clears up and he can return to basketball next year.
Heck yeah.
And then a little more on basketball. The Dallas Mavericks and Los Angeles Lakers played last night in Luka's return to play the Mavericks. I believe the Lakers won. I don't actually know what the score was.
They did.
Yes.
107-99.
Yes. The Lakers get the win. Luka had a triple-double in the game. Was fantastic. I unfortunately was not able to really watch the game, but based on what I'm seeing here, had a great game. Had 19 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Seems like a pretty solid game. Again, didn't watch it, can't really speak on how he actually did. But overall, Lakers seemed like they get a really good win over the Mavericks.
I did watch it. I did not watch it live. That's past my bedtime. But I recorded it and watched it this morning at work. It was a great game for the Lakers.
Okay.
I think Luka had a really good game. It was not the game I think most people were expecting or hoping he would have. They
Okay.
really wanted him to put up like 40 points.
Yeah, that didn't.
But I think last night you saw almost one of the best versions of the Lakers. Luka wasn't shooting phenomenally. I think.
Yeah, looking at
I
it.
remember his 3-point percentage, but it wasn't great.
He shot 1 for 7 from 3-pointers.
It was 1 for 7. I was like at 6 or 7. But seeing him put up points, and then when he was off the court, Austin Reeves put up points, and then in the fourth quarter, LeBron got pretty much all of his points in the fourth quarter. He went off for the last 7 minutes. It was crazy. But seeing a team that doesn't ever seriously lose its offensive steam because of who and who isn't out there. Um, we're just seeing kind of the best version right now. I think this game was important for Luka's trajectory. I think it's pretty clear he's still just kind of struggling with the trade and everything that happened. So for him to play against the Mavs, get the win, play well, it just kind of helps him come into his own as a Laker.
Yeah.
So it was a good game. Uh, Obviously, the Mavs were shorthanded. They didn't have Anthony Davis. But yeah, I just think it was an important game, and I think it was a good game for Luka and for the Lakers. We're seeing the best versions of them um, against the Mavs and against the Nuggets.
Yeah. So Lakers got the win. Congrats to Luka for beating his former team. Obviously there was some things that happened with the GM because the GM of the Mavericks was in attendance. So that created some fun little things. But good to see Luka trying to fit in with the Lakers.
Yeah,
That trade's going to look pretty good for the Lakers, I'm going to guess.
I kind of think not that they're gonna lose because I think in the long run they still come out on top. But I think if the Lakers don't make a serious bid for a championship this year or next, you've really fucked up an opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you lose the trade because you still have Luka through his prime.
Yeah.
But with LeBron coming to the end of his time, if him and LeBron do not make a bid for a championship together, you have genuinely fucked up.
Yeah. I just don't see the problem I had with the Lakers. I didn't see the Lakers contending for a championship anyway. I do think, based on what I'm seeing now, I think they're closer with Luka than they were with AD. Which I didn't think would be the case, but based on the limited sample size we have,
Yeah.
they're looking really good. Um, but we'll kind of see. Obviously, playoffs are a different beast, and they are missing a really key position in the center position when you look at what the West
Yeah.
looks like. So we'll see what happens with that in the playoffs when defenses get tighter and
And and that's why I don't think they have to do it this year.
mm-hmm.
But you need to do it before LeBron goes.
but,
Like
but
now you're seeing
but you need to set yourself up for next year to
yeah.
make a push.
Like yeah.
Because LeBron probably only has one more year left after this.
Yeah.
If he makes it through this, if he decides to continue past this one.
I think from LeBron's stance, at least me as LeBron, it'd be if you're going to make active changes, if we're going to get the big center, a defensive player, I will stick around another year.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not going to do those things, I'm a go.
Yeah, because I mean, like, why would you pass up the chance to play with Luka Doncic at this point?
Yeah.
Especially because
And LeBron was like, I don't know, he was happy last night. He was in a great mood. He was just loving life.
Then yeah,
Him and Luka are really gelling. So
there's nothing wrong with it. But yeah, this is all stuff
not
that will
at
be
all.
down the road. But yeah, interesting to see the Lakers succeeding after this move. Obviously, the Mavs have not been too successful. Obviously, Anthony Davis did get hurt.
Yeah.
That is what you get for trading for Anthony Davis. Essentially, is he
Yeah.
struggles to be healthy.
So the Lakers did do a tribute video for him last night. That was kind of cool. But
That's pretty much
because he
what we
was
know.
in attendance. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate like the Mavs as a team, like roster wise. I think they're in a decent spot, but Anthony Davis has a health problem.
Yeah.
And when he's supposed to be a cornerstone of your team,
That's not great.
especially when you trade a superstar in his prime for him,
It's not great.
Yeah. Makes you look like a fucking moron. Honestly. Just
Yeah.
putting that out there, saying that. I know I'm not the only one that said it. And I'm definitely not the only one that thinks it.
Nope.
So
yeah, it just stupid decisions. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, there's
yeah.
still more season to be played.
There's a lot of basketball left. It's so much. There's so much.
Yes. But a lot of basketball to be played. A lot of things can change. Obviously, the trade deadline has passed, so no rosters can really be changed unless it's signing someone off the street.
Yeah.
But even then, probably not going to change a whole ton. So we'll kind of see what teams do and how teams perform down the stretch here coming into the playoffs. Moving on, talk really quickly about the WNBA, and I'll pass that to Dallas.
Yeah. Quick little news that we were expecting, waiting for, happened. Diana Taurasi did announce her retirement from the WNBA. I am not going to go through her very long list of accolades. It is a very long list. She was a great player, cornerstone player, a lot of championships, a lot of gold medals, all the fun stuff. Happy for her. We knew this was coming. Everybody knew.
I a non I don't want to say fan, but someone that doesn't watch the WNBA
Yeah, like
knew this was happening after the Olympics.
So yeah, congratulations to her amazing career. Got to go out on a high note with the Olympics. So excited for her, happy for her, and whatever she chooses to do moving forward. So
yeah, so congrats.
That's it for WNBA.
Definitely.
I did not. I guess if any of our watchers, viewers, that's the word I'm looking for, viewers. I did watch a little bit of Unrivaled. If they do it again, I will. We'll talk more next season. This season, I just wanted to see what was happening.
Nice.
So we'll talk more about it next year if they continue it.
Solid. So yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty much that. Moving on to hockey.
Yes.
Hockey.
So, we did have the end of the Four Nations tournament for the NHL. Canada did take home the gold. I don't know what to call
They
it.
won.
They won the tournament. They win 3-2 in overtime over the United States. We had talked this game up for the whole podcast last week, and it did not disappoint, in my opinion. Obviously, there wasn't any fights, but the game was still very physical, very chippy, and then obviously goes to overtime. Was a fantastic game, and Connor McDavid gets the game-winning goal. Nathan McKinnon was named MVP of the tournament for scoring in 4 goals. I think it was 4 goals, so pretty much in every game they played, he had a goal per game, is how you would think about it. So yeah, congrats to Team Canada on the win.
Yeah, it was a great game. We texted immediately following that final goal. Not how we wanted it to end. Of all the scenarios I would have wanted, that was pretty much the last one. That was the last option available.
No, I think there's one I would prefer less than that.
Which would have been
Brad Marchand getting the game-winning goal, because I hate Brad Marchand.
Okay, that's fair.
I will not elaborate further, but
no, I'm following you. But it was a great game. I think because Canada lost the first round, we just stayed quiet during the anthem. They were like, we just want to come out here and play hockey. We don't want any of the bullshit or the noise. Obviously chippy, a very physical game, but it was a great game. Hockey has. I do not believe that this will bring hockey forward. I don't think it's going to propel it into a major sport in the US. I don't think it's going to seriously help viewership throughout the season. But I think hockey does a really great job of creating events and
Yeah.
promoting events that get people interested. Like I don't remember what year it was, but when they had that outdoor tournament,
Yeah.
they do these things pretty often, and I thought the Four Nations was brilliant. Um, Especially given the conversation we've had about All Star. Great, I really enjoyed it. I hope to see something similar next year.
hmm
And like we said, if you don't watch hockey, this was the perfect
Well, I think
situation.
next year, the NHL isn't doing anything, but because of when the Olympics are happening, the NHL is allowing players to play in the Olympics, and that'll be their
Okay.
quote unquote all
Not
star
next
break.
year?
I believe it is. I
I
believe
guess it is
next
because
year's Winter
28
Olympics.
is LA. So yeah,
So yeah.
26. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so yeah, they're doing the NHLers can participate in the Olympics. So that'll be their quote unquote all star break for the
Yeah.
Olympics. Um, so it'll be really similar to this, but on a larger scale, so even better.
Yeah.
Obviously, you'll have international players
And
then.
Olympic hockey is always great.
Yeah. So again, this should be hockey's kind of it is slowly moving up. Obviously, with this, a lot of people were very a lot of non-hockey people got invested into this tournament. That's kind of what happens when you have international play. But so yeah, it was great to see hockey obviously get
Yeah.
some recognition for this. Did a great
Get some
job planning it.
spotlight.
Did a great job
Hmm.
planning, getting this event. So shout out to the powers that be that did that.
Yeah.
They got this event scheduled and
Whoever
ran it.
Rich Eisen said this on his show that whoever's idea this was deserves a raise.
Yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly.
Yep.
Because it was
Completely.
brilliant.
Completely.
Um, and then a little more on the NHL because we are approaching the trade deadline. The trade deadline for the NHL is March 7th. So that Friday, all trades will be completed and finalized, and then it'll be the final stretch in the NHL season. So obviously, keep an eye out for that if you're a hockey fan to see what moves are made. Speaking of moves that were made, we said that we would talk more about the Mikko Rantanen trade at a later date.
Yeah.
Figured since don't got a lot to talk about today, we'd kind of talk about some of the things that are happening with that trade, some of the things that are kind of fascinating. So obviously, a couple weeks back or last month, the Colorado Avalanche and Carolina Hurricanes made a trade that sent Mikko Rantanen to the Hurricanes in exchange for Marty Necas, Jack Drury, and a couple of picks. The picks don't matter; they have not done anything with those. The Avs still have them. Uh, really quickly, Jack Drury has been fine, has fit nicely in the Avs bottom six forwards. The real talking point with this trade is the two big guns, Mikko Rantanen and Marty Necas, and how they performed since the trade was made. So obviously those were the two like biggest points of the trade. So we'll kind of talk about how they're doing with their new systems, how it's been going for them, and something interesting that might happen with Mikko Rantanen and Carolina. Obviously, since the trade, Marty Necas has been pretty great for the Avalanche. Has fit in quite nicely. Has put up a point per game with the Avs. Has been playing great. No regrets for the Avs there in terms of getting
No.
him. He has been fantastic and has fit great with Nathan McKinnon and Arturi Lekkinen. Um, Mikko Rantanen, on the other hand, has not been performing well. Has only 2 goals since
Bit
being
rough.
traded, and I believe only 4 points total. So it's not been going great. And there have been reports that the Carolina Hurricanes have offered him a contract extension that is over $100 million total. Um, he has not accepted that yet. That begs the question of does Carolina then trade him again before the deadline if they cannot get a deal done. And I think that is just an interesting thing to think about. Does Carolina trade him if he refuses to resign? So yeah, it begs the question: do they trade him at the deadline? And I think it is an interesting question because if Carolina can't resign him, then they're out Marty Necas, Jack Drury, and the picks. And then if you don't resign Mikko Rantanen, you're then also down Mikko Rantanen. So do you try to trade him for more picks, or do you try to get a deal done? I don't know. I'm just throwing out the question. I think if you can't get a deal done, you should trade him again. That's just my opinion. I'm kind of curious on what you think.
I think you have to trade him. If you can't get a deal done, he can walk for free at the end of the season. And like you said, like all that you gave up for him, the picks, the players, you paid too much for half a season of
maybe not even half at this
mediocre
point.
Rantanen because it's taking him longer to get acclimated or
I think
whatever's going on.
The biggest thing is he doesn't have Nathan MacKinnon. In my opinion, that's part of it. Is you're playing with one of the top 2 players in the world. Or
That's
you
fair.
were on a consistent basis, and then you went drop down to like a top 50.
Yeah.
So like,
and now I think now it's like they're expecting him to be that, and he's not. He's a great number 3,
number 2,
but he's not a number 1. And if that's what you were looking for, I would see about trading. And if you can't get a deal done, because I think there's a good chance that Rantanen's sitting there going, this isn't going well. I'd rather take less money and go somewhere else or back to the app.
Yeah, we'll kind of see what ends up happening. I don't think he resigns. I think he tests the market in free agency, and that's where you beg the like at that point.
Yeah,
you have to trade him. Who would trade for him? I have no idea, but
well, and the more games he puts on tape, you're definitely not going to get anywhere near what you gave for him.
Unless a team is desperate. And there might be an extremely desperate team out there that is willing to overpay for his services. But I don't know who that'll be.
But that comes back to the question, like, I think now you're put in a situation as a team, is he going to sign a contract? And if he says no, why would you trade for him?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think this is real, but like, if the Kings called Carolina and went, we're interested, so they call Rantanen and they go, hey, this would be our contract. Will you sign it? If he goes, no, okay, well, then never mind. We're not going to trade for you.
Yeah. That's really the issue. And this is a very bad light for Mikko Rantanen to be in.
Yeah.
This makes you look like a diva, which is not common in hockey.
And that's never been the aura around him.
Yeah. It's a very interesting situation of there have been several offers on the table that would make you very rich, and you're turning them down. Obviously,
yeah.
I do believe that, yeah, you could get paid what you think you're worth by a bottom team in the league that has the cap space to go, yeah, here's 15 million, but you're playing for a Chicago Blackhawks who suck, or like
Yeah.
the Sharks who suck.
Usually hockey players prioritize winning over money. So it's weird and it's unfortunate that it feels like Rantanen is like, I have a championship, now I just want to get paid.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting situation that we're gonna have to just wait and see how it progresses. I do. I said I think you trade him. At this point, we're kind of just waiting
Yeah.
to see if they do in fact trade him or not. So, um, just something I thought I'd bring up because it is a thing right
No, I
now.
mean,
It has come up.
it's
There's been reports that he could be on the dead, like he could be on the block now, the trade block.
and
So,
that's crazy. That that's crazy.
I mean,
Like,
fuck
just the
around, find out.
concept that like you've been there a couple of weeks and you're gonna turn around and be like, "No, I don't want to deal with y'all, or I don't want to deal that small,
Yeah,
so I'm gonna
it's
go again."
it's definitely kind of crazy. So, um, we'll kind of see
Because
what
that would
happens.
basically mean your fourth situation that you try to get acclimated to. Because he was also on Team Sweden,
Finland, but yeah,
Finland. He was on Team Finland. Only had one goal the entire tournament.
yeah.
Not doing well with Carolina, so now you're going to go to a fourth team, fourth situation, and try and have
Unless,
success there. That's the plan.
I mean, I guess I'm I'm just curious on who would be willing to trade for him at this point. Like, would the Avs go? You can have your picks back, but that's it.
Yeah, they're not going to get
Like,
as well as that's going. They're not giving the players back.
no. So do you sit there
Maybe,
and go, he's been terrible for you. Here's your picks back and someone slightly worse than Drury. Here's our offer.
yeah,
Take it or leave it. I could see that being a possibility, or I could see, again, I could see a team kind of like the Kings, maybe someone in that rate, like in the playoff race, going, you know what, we're willing to take a chance at it. Here's,
even if we just have him for the rest of this season.
yeah, I could see. Honestly, the team they won't trade it to them, but a team I almost see doing something like that would be like Vegas, or
They definitely, there's no way.
they could actually swing it. Because here's the thing: if Rantanen gets traded again, I think his cap hit's only like 2 million.
I just don't think they would trade to Vegas.
They might because it's a Western Conference team. I don't think they trade anybody in the East,
Oh, God, no.
but Western, I could see them throwing him back to the West.
Yeah, maybe. I just feel like the hockey is so much more. Hockey's kind of like football. Like, you don't like dealing with potential contenders. You're like, I'm not going to help you.
But at this point, that's all you're going to be able to deal with.
No, and that's fair.
So,
And I mean, if they're the only team that comes calling,
yeah,
you might not have a choice.
that would be terrible for the Avalanche, but
Yeah, that would. As an Avs fan, I'd be pissed.
because we sent you east, so we didn't have to play you, and then you go back west
And then you end
because
up back
in the west
because
would,
you don't want to sign a deal.
yeah, definitely be a little unfortunate. But again, this is all speculation. We'll kind of wait and see what happens at the trade deadline.
Yeah, we're
Definitely,
just spitballing.
definitely something to keep an eye on. Probably going to be the most interesting story of the deadline because of what's going on. So
Yeah,
yeah, keep an eye out. March,
even if Carolina bites the bullet and just keeps him,
yeah,
that's gonna be interesting.
because you're banking on either winning the cup or re-signing him.
Hmm.
Because I think for Carolina, it would
And
almost
one's not likely.
for Carolina winning the cup would almost make it worth it. You know what I mean?
I think it would definitely make it worth it
If you,
if you were like, okay, fuck it, we got one really great push. Now we have to deal with the situation.
yeah, so maybe, but I don't see that happening. The East seems very stacked, and if Ranton doesn't pick it up, I don't see that.
No.
So hopefully for them, it's not that bad. But yeah, I could definitely
Yeah,
see
hopefully they can figure something out.
yeah. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. So yeah, that's really all
Well,
for hockey, I think. Unless you had.
alrighty. Well, then moving on to football, I think. There is plenty of conversation material today. It's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think, as always, we will start with our teams, though.
Yeah, you want to kick it off with the Ravens?
Sure. So Eric DaCosta, the GM, did have a press conference. Most GMs do. Uh, Before, at, around the combine, he did have one. So I'm just gonna the four main talking points. I'm just gonna get into a little bit. So first and foremost, he did talk about Tucker and the situation, and basically said that obviously the situation is concerning, and what's most concerning is the number of allegations. They are glad that the NFL is doing an investigation. But something he said that I found interesting, DaCosta is a very smart man, and he's a very calculated man. And he said, we will wait as long as we can before making a decision. I kind of think that means if the investigation is not wrapped up by the time they would have to have a kicker signed, is DaCosta will make a decision based off what he thinks and the conversations he's had with Tucker. I don't want to speculate on how I don't want to speculate, but I also kind of think if the investigation isn't wrapped, they will sign a new kicker. They are very intent on their policy. I think DaCosta is put off by the situation, and unless the investigation is wrapped up quickly and the NFL can come back and say, hey, we found no wrongdoing, I think they're going to move on. Uh, Obviously, he didn't say how the conversation with him and Tucker went. I don't think Tucker went to him and just admitted to doing these things. I think he would have cut him right then and there.
Yeah.
He didn't get into it, but based off that line, I think whether or not they release him, I don't know. I do think there's a good chance they sign a new kicker and sit him until they figure everything out.
Okay.
Next major point was Ronnie Stanley, Ravens left tackle. He's kind of the biggest free agent on the Baltimore Ravens roster this offseason. And DaCosta's pretty much made it clear he does really want to re-sign Stanley. Last year was kind of a prove-it year. Stanley's had some health issues, had trouble staying on the field last year. He was healthy the whole year, didn't miss a ton of snaps, didn't miss any games, just had a great season. They do want to get a new deal done. Him and DaCosta have done a deal together before, so they do have history with each other. He does have history with Stanley's agent that always gives teams some confidence. Stanley's agent is at the combine. Deals get done at the combine all the time.
Yes.
Contracts get done at the combine all the time. So, yeah, Stanley's agent is out there. So they are talking. It is really important. The Ravens have made it very clear. It is very important to them to get this deal done. They are currently sitting under the cap, and that's without it having gone up. So they do have room to sign him. Obviously, I would really like Picard re-signed. I'd maybe like to see a tight end deal get done this offseason. So next year, when technically all three contracts come to an end, you don't actually have to deal with all three. I'd like to see Marks get done, DaCosta did talk about Mark. He
Okay,
vaguely made it sound like he wanted to get a deal done.
I
It
have a
sounded a little odd.
I have a
Go ahead.
question with that, just out of curiosity.
Go.
If you had to pick one, I'll exclude Kohler because I think
Okay.
he just doesn't matter. No
That's
offense to
fair.
him.
No, that's
We're
fair.
gonna forget about the fat white boy, as he says.
Yeah,
Um,
the fat white boy.
who would you rather resign? Likely.
Mark.
Okay.
It's not even a question.
Because here's my argument: is yes, Mark is, in my opinion, better, but likely he's also like 2 or 3 years younger.
Yep.
And would probably be a little cheaper.
Yep.
So I was just curious. Obviously.
So both of those statements are true. Obviously, likely is younger, likely is cheaper. I'm gonna kick it back actually just a little bit.
Okay.
To kind of explain, because I was gonna gloat, but now for this purpose it actually works out. I've talked about, and you of course know, I watch the FS1 talk shows.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes First Things First with Nick Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Wright made a comment about how if it weren't for the history, he would trade Jamar Chase.
Okay.
If it weren't for how long the two of them have played football together and that connection, he would trade Jamar Chase.
Okay.
In my opinion, that's the situation with Lamar and Mark.
Okay.
Yeah. Mark is Lamar's safety blanket. He does well without him. I don't think he needs him. But there is this level of understanding and
trust,
fluidity that happens with the two of them. I understand the playoff game. It was unfortunate.
I wasn't even really taking that into account when I asked you.
But there's a connection. There's a trust. Mark is kind of... It's kind of like my opinion on Stanley as well. Like, Stanley just understands Lamar. When Lamar goes, Stanley knows. He doesn't have to see it. He doesn't have to hear it. He just knows. My quarterback's about to take off. Mark just knows. I need to turn around. Lamar's in trouble. I need to break off rather than block. There's just this understanding and connection he has that is, for a team that I genuinely think is a contender, is important.
Huh?
Likely is a great player. I would love to keep both. If I had to pick one, I would rather have Mark.
All right. Yeah. No. It was just a hypothetical.
I would frankly, I would rather replace my entire wide receiver room and re-sign my tight end room.
Fair enough.
Is how I feel about it.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, just...
Bateman's under contract, obviously. Flowers is on a rookie deal, but I would rather have to replace that entire room and re-sign my tight end room.
That is pretty good. But yeah, no, cool.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's a good question. But obviously the main focus right now is Stanley.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think they'll get a deal with Picard done. Fullbacks.
Or they won't.
Are only so you back the fuck off. Are only so utilized in the NFL nowadays. Yeah. So I do think there's a good chance there. But Stanley is the focus. The other focal point being at the combine, DaCosta said he's really looking at a focal point that DaCosta said he's really looking at is the offensive tackle position. We saw last year with kind of their patchwork, everyone trying to find room for everyone, trying to figure out how everyone was going to fit. What this kind of tells me is, one, it's a backup plan in case they don't get a deal done with Stanley. I think the goal would be to have it done before the draft. They want to know if they have their left tackle position shored up or not.
Yes.
I think if they don't get a deal done, it's more than likely that they would put Rosengarten in the left tackle spot. He is used to playing the blindside blocker, just on the right side. So I think they could get him acclimated to that. I had questions about Voorhees last season. He ended up taking a very reduced snap count. I'm like, it's either injury, you just want to give him more time, or you think, unfortunately, he's a bust.
Which, I mean, he was drafted in the 6th round.
Well, he was drafted in the 6th round because he was hurt. He was prospected higher, and then he popped his Achilles.
But I think it's really hard for me to say someone's a bust when they're drafted in the 6th round. That's just my opinion.
That's fair. No, that's fair.
He just didn't work out.
He's not what they were hoping he would be.
Yeah.
If you still draft offensive tackle and get a deal done with Stanley, it tells me you don't think Voorhees is what you were hoping he was going to be.
And I think most teams fail to do this, and I think the Eagles are doing it really well, is draft in case something happens on the offensive line. Obviously, the Eagles have done really great with drafting offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And coaching them up to replace people. So I think that's another thing that Ravens could do. Is Stanley is up there, and he tends to not play a full season.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely true.
So I can see that being a possibility there.
So that's why I think if you draft someone, quite frankly, it's to get that left tackle spot gelling when Stanley moves on.
Yeah.
I would imagine his next contract is 2, maybe 3 years. I would be a little shocked with 3 years. But they just kind of replaced every other spot except for the center and the left tackle. So now going into year 2, the rest of that line should be well acclimated, used to working together. They understand Lamar. This is kind of the time to start looking at replacing Stanley. Mm-hmm. I know they want the deal done, but I do think it's a good idea to draft someone, get them in the room, and working towards that. I just think it rules out Voorhees as a true option for the starting line, is what it tells me if you draft somebody and sign Stanley.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah. And then talked a little bit about Lamar. He made a subtle dig. He was like, Lamar is my MVP, and choices were made. So that was funny. But commenting that Lamar does absolutely have say on the roster and the draft. We knew that last year. We talked about it last year. Lamar has an input. He hears what Lamar has to say. He lets Lamar kind of dictate that offense. So it will be an interesting draft in that regard. So, and nice. It sounds like he is going to go down to Florida and spend some time this offseason with Lamar. So
nice.
Yep. Overall, good press conference. Obviously, there are some bummers, but there's some other things that as Ravens fans, I think we should be excited about. Really looking forward to. And always excited for football. So, Combine starts tomorrow, I believe.
Technically today, but it's punters and kickers.
Yeah, so it starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should be paying attention today.
I was gonna say
maybe we might need to pay attention.
I think the Ravens might be a little interesting.
Yeah.
Just gonna.
That would explain why he did his press conference yesterday. John Lynch did his today. He was like, I don't need these people. DaCosta did his yesterday for a reason. He was like, I need to watch that.
Yeah.
So
just gonna.
That's fun. That's some fun. Like, fuck me. Jesus God.
Yes. So.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about a non drama-filled team. Let's talk Seahawks.
Yeah, Seahawks have had limited drama. So nothing. So obviously, Combine, John Schneider, the GM of the Seattle Seahawks, did a press conference. Whoa, surprising. Um,
Shocker.
yeah,
I had no
God.
idea.
Uh, Once again, I have three takeaways from his. They're mostly just about players. He's very limited on what he tells the media.
Hmm.
It just tends to be the case. A lot of the questions were about like, what did you learn from Mike McDonald working with him for your first year? Stupid shit like
That's
that.
a stupid question.
Yeah, you could tell. Yeah, that was genuinely one of the questions I asked. Is what did you learn from Mike McDonald working with him with your first year? And he was like, a lot. The answer
What the
was equally as like,
fuck? Yeah, like what do you want him to say to that?
I learned a lot. He has a great mind. It's just yeah. But there was some good questions. First of all, he talked about Geno Smith and the possibility for a contract extension. Seems like they're trying to get work done. He has talked to Smith's agents, so there is a possibility for a contract extension. Probably nothing major. Probably just gonna extend him for a couple 1 to 2 years, and kind of kick some cap down the road
Yeah.
and free up some cap this year. Probably what's going to happen with that. Didn't talk long about it. Just kind of mentioned that there has been conversations there. The next one he talked about was Ernest Jones, the linebacker they traded for midseason. He kind of went into a little more depth with this one, saying that they're trying to get a deal done because he's a free agent this year, or this upcoming free agency. They've been working towards a deal. They've had very productive conversations with the agent. They even met the agent down in Indianapolis for the combine. So conversations are still going on. Seems like Ernest Jones should be getting a contract with the Seahawks soon. They're going to hopefully get an Ernest Jones contract done soon. The Seahawks are still in the red in terms of cap space, even with the number jumping up. I think they're $6 million in the red with the increase, but I'm not worried about that. There's a lot of things they
Yeah.
can do to open up some cap space, including the next conversation that was had. Somebody asked him about the trade rumors around DK Metcalf, to which he replied, I don't know about that, assuming that he's not lying.
Yeah.
The Seahawks don't plan on trading him. It's not that surprising. Um, he is up for an extension, only has one more year left on his contract, so could be extended, freeing up some cap space this year. Kind of why I segued into that. So,
What do you want them to do? You want them to extend him, or would you
um,
rather them get some capital and maybe trade him now with JSN?
I would extend him.
Okay.
Because him and JSN are very different. I think the best way I can describe it is I think him and JSN can have a T. Higgins, Jamar Chase kind of thing
Okay.
going on. Where JSN is Jamar Chase, the kind of do it all, where uh, DK is more of the T. Higgins in that specialized role. You are
50-50,
just
go get it, Paul.
you are just a big human being, and you are fast. So I would resign him, especially since we don't really know what's going on with Tyler Lockett, in his contract situation, whether he's retiring or not. So I err on the side of resign him.
Fair enough.
We'll kind of talk more about the receivers in a second. As I said, the combine is going on. So yeah, that was John Schneider's combine press conference. Those were really the three main things. He did kind of talk about Tyler, but all he said was, we are going through that. They're looking into it. So whether he resigns, retires, or they let him go,
Whatever.
we'll kind of have to wait and see for that. Kind of got a non-answer to the question. So
Yeah, as they
didn't
do.
didn't feel necessary to bring it. Something else that happened this week. Jason Peters, the longtime offensive tackle in the National Football League, has retired and is joining the Seattle's Seahawks front office. He is going to be an assistant to the VP of Player Affairs. He's essentially just going to, his title is Veteran Mentor. So he's going to be in the building. Congrats to him.
Yeah.
Should be a really good person to have in that front office. Obviously, long time NFL tackle. I think played 20 years. He was there for a long time.
Long time. Long
But
time.
he's 42, I believe. So I think 2 decades sounds about
Yeah.
right. Great player. Obviously, should be a Hall of Famer. Multiple Pro Bowls, multiple All Pros, and a Super Bowl. So
Yep.
he joins the Seahawks front office as just someone that's going to be around the players. It seems like.
Nice.
So pretty good thing there for him. Good thing for the Seahawks. All good there. And then, yeah, since the combine is going on, I was planning on kind of watching at least some of it, maybe the highlights. Kind of depends on how my week goes and how busy it gets. But I figured I would kind of come to you guys with what I'm focusing on with the combine. Because John Schneider didn't really answer any of those questions. They weren't really asked. So this is what I'm.
What are these reporters doing?
Technically, they did kind of ask what he's looking for at the combine, to which he gave another non-answer. So
Fair enough.
it was kind of like, well, we're looking for players to help the football team. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro.
We're looking for the best players available. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. We thought you were going to draft the worst players at quarterback and positions you don't need. So glad you've cleared that up for us.
So this is what I'm focusing on in the combine, and which I think are Seattle's biggest needs. I'm going to do 5 positions. It's technically going to be 6, but I'm going to combine 2 of them together because they should just be combined. Obviously, number 1 need is offensive line. That was atrocious this year. The offensive line should be the main focus, and I do think that is going to be the Seahawks' main focus, just based on the lead up to this point. So yeah, offensive line. The wide receivers I'm going to focus on next. You might be wondering why. I think wide receiver is a need for the Seahawks, especially if they do decide to trade Metcalf. They really only have 2, plus like Jake Bobo. And Jake Bobo is a fun story, but that's about it. I do like
and
what
if
he
Lockett does retire.
Yeah, if Lockett retires. Jake Bobo being your 3rd receiver is kind of
it's
scary.
Not. No, that's, yeah.
He's good in the red zone, and he's good in certain situations.
Yeah.
That's about it. So, looking at that, the 2 positions I'm kind of combining together would be the interior D-line and edge rushers. Because I do think if you look at the free agency situation, the edge is fine, but if they go out and get a top edge rusher in this class, that I could see. That's why I'm kind of focusing on that. And then D-line, there's a lot of free agents on this D-line for the Seahawks. So I could see them maybe drafting one and then maybe re-signing Jaron Reed. Maybe Roy Robertson-Harris comes back, something like that. But there is a lot of potential losses on the defensive line. So I do think that's a good position to focus on, because that could become a position of need depending on how free agency goes. The next position I'm going to focus on is tight ends. This one's a little less for me, but I still think it's kind of important because Noah Fant's kind of making a lot of money. Not sure if he'll stick around if they cut him. It's a really easy cap casualty to free up, I think, $6 million in cap space if you cut him. So, like, that's kind of an easy trigger for a decent amount of cap. So there's possibility for that. And then obviously you have AJ Barner, and that's it. Those are your 2 tight ends. You can kind of include Brady Russell, but he's kind of like that practice squad guy.
That's fair.
So really, there's only 2 tight ends currently rostered, and who knows what's going to happen with Noah Fant. If Clint Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, likes him, then yeah, they'll keep him around for this 1 more year. All's well. If not, I can see him getting cut, and they draft another one. So I do think tight end is kind of an underrated possibility here for the Seahawks, especially with a pretty solid tight end class. So we'll kind of see what happens there. And then the last position is quarterback. I think quarterback is just always a focus, regardless. You could always find somebody,
Yeah.
especially when you're in the Seahawks position or you have a aging quarterback. Maybe try to get a developmental guy in the building. This is a good draft for that. As we've said, this isn't a draft where you go out and try to find a starter, but there's a lot of guys that have potential, and if you can get that potential out of them, you'll have a future starter. And I think the Seahawks are in a good position to draft one of those guys. So it's kind of what I'm focusing on with the quarterbacks is someone that can sit behind Geno, learn from a quality quarterback, and maybe take over one day. So yeah, focusing on the quarterback. That's pretty much. Those are the 5 positions.
Nice.
Obviously, hope to be able to watch most of the combine, but we'll kind of see what happens. But those are really the positions I'm focused on.
It's kind of unfortunate right now because my living situation is about to change.
So is mine, potentially.
Yeah. So if mine changes, it's like 95% probably going to. But I'm going to be in a way better position to like watch the combine. But it's not happening for like 2 months. So I'm like, I want to watch it. We will see what all I get out of it. But it will be way easier to watch sports and things if/when my situation changes. So I think because we kind of talked about it and you brought it up, I think there's a good chance they draft a tight end this year, maybe instead of their traditional we draft a wide receiver. I think there's a good chance, depending on what they see of Ismaili on the practice squad. If they think he could maybe fill Likely's shoes, maybe they don't. But I think this is a good year to draft a tight end.
Yeah, and that's where I
get
think
him in that room, and then next year, if you lose somebody, you have someone already used to the Ravens system.
And yeah, that's kind of where I think the Seahawks are at with the tight end. Just they kind of need one a little bit more, depending on the Noah Fant situation.
A lot of great things coming out right now with the combine, with the Ravens and the Seahawks, and obviously we will keep you updated on all of it. This is just an exciting time for teams. You get to kind of think about what your team's going to look like, what you want it to look like, and then obviously there's the GM and the franchise's goal and their image. Other teams going through some changes. We're just going to talk some bullet points before we get into our NFC North team of the week. Some headlines that have been going on. Stafford and the Rams.
Possible trade.
What the fuck? What the fuck? I feel like sports right now we're like trying to outdo each other for stupid. That's what I think. That's what I think. So hockey and the Ranson, financially, I got it, right? I was like, okay, makes sense. And then the NBA traded Luka, and I was like, okay, maybe because you have some concerns and there's a financial stupid, but maybe okay. The Rams have announced that they want to trade Cooper Kupp, they're open to trading Stafford, and that Aaron Rodgers would be a good potential replacement. All of that is just stupid.
Hey.
There's no good.
If the Rams wanted to do it, I personally would say go for it. You do you, pal. You do you.
Yeah, of course the Seahawks fan is fine with it.
Yeah, if you want to replace Matthew Stafford with Aaron Rodgers, who am I to stop you? Like, it's a great decision.
But in reality,
No, it's so dumb.
this doesn't make any motherfucking sense.
Like, I get it.
I
Stafford is injury prone and getting older, but like,
Rogers is 40 years old.
no. I wasn't saying going for. I was gonna finish the thought of,
Okay.
but then you're gonna get older and more. Okay, yeah, seems like a good idea. I'm all
I
for
just
if the Rams want to draft a guy. Sounds like a plan. Do what Seattle's doing, or what I want Seattle to do.
I just don't understand. He is top 5. We have him 5. Maybe you have him top 7 in the league. He's gotten you to a Super Bowl.
He's won.
You've been a playoff. Yeah. You've been a playoff team every year with him. He is a great guy to learn under. I would think you would give him. I understand the concerns about money. I understand he wants money. But I would think this is a great year, kind of like you were talking about the Seahawks, to draft a guy. Like, the Green Bay method works. I don't know what we're confused by, but it works. There's nothing wrong with drafting a developmental guy, letting him sit for 2 or 3 years, and then playing. Stafford's a great guy to learn under. You have Sean McVay. Why would you get rid of a Super Bowl winning quarterback still playing and still producing for you for who the fuck knows who? Even if you look at all free agent quarterbacks, the only one that I think this makes mild sense with is Sam Darnold. Because he's younger, he's cheaper, and McVay goes, okay, I just saw what Kevin O'Connell did with him. Maybe I can do the same.
Yeah.
But anybody else is older and
worse.
has. Yeah. Right now. Like, whether you think Russell in his prime was better than Stafford, whatever, fine. That's an argument you can have with somebody, I guess. But there's nobody on the market, or nobody that's going to be on the market, that is as good, that's even as good. It's not better, it's just not even as good.
Yeah.
You're just getting cheaper, you're getting older. What's happening?
Hey, the Rams can do what the Rams want to do. They can make their choices, I guess. They're stupid choices, but they can make their choices.
I think, and then Tom Brady, I guess, is like, sounds good, trade him. Because he had him to his house in Montana. They went skiing. Brady is like, cool, come to Vegas.
For the if I'm the Vegas, I'm trying to pull that trigger so fast.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So fast. You might actually have a contender depending on what you gave up for him.
Could you imagine the AFC West with Stafford in it?
It's already
you have Stafford,
stupid.
Mahomes, Herbert, who's only getting better, and both Bo Nix and Herbert, who got their teams to the playoffs, will be in the second year of their system with a draft, and the Broncos will be without Russell Wilson's $80 million cap hit.
Yeah.
The AFC West would be terrifying.
Not to mention, you have Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and Sean Payton.
You have, I don't think there's any argument, the best coached division.
Oh, it's not even close.
If you give the Raiders a quarterback, a viable quarterback,
that division,
that will be some exciting fucking football. The AFC West will be my game of the week a lot.
Yeah. It'll be fun, especially if they keep Crosby.
Yeah, oh my god. Can you imagine the energy Like Stafford and Crosby on the same sideline.
Stafford, Crosby, and then you also have Pete Carroll.
Oh my god, this is like a crackhead fucking sideline. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Energetic, violent, and probably one of the physically toughest sidelines.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. Again, if I'm the Raiders, I'm offering everything I can other than Brock Bowers, Max Crosby,
That's pretty much it.
and that's pretty much it.
Take the house.
Yeah.
I think the other team that would seriously benefit, I don't want it, but just as a football perspective,
Steelers
would be the Steelers. But it's the same thing. You need to get Stafford and then draft a developmental guy. Because Tomlin has proven he cannot develop a quarterback.
Yeah.
So draft somebody and let Stafford develop him.
That or re-sign Fields and see if Stafford can get the best out of Fields.
The concern I have, I don't think Fields can be an active starter. That's what I think. I think the tape shows that.
I don't disagree. I'm just curious to see if maybe.
But
so
here's my concern: if you do that and you're wrong, then when you have to turn around and draft someone that you can't develop, you don't know how to handle a rookie quarterback. That's been made very apparent. You're just back to fucked.
Fair, yeah.
So if you can get Stafford in the building now-ish, get his opinion on the quarterbacks coming out of this draft, and get somebody in that he can help you develop, he can help you work with, then I think the Steelers are set up better for the future. I prefer they didn't. By all means, please sign Justin Fields. Let's do that.
Yeah, stick with what you had.
Yeah, keep doing that. Just stay the course. All good. No problems here. But from a football perspective, those are the two teams that I think should actively be like, yes, please.
Yeah. No, it's 100%.
Or the only other one, the Colts GM had an interesting press conference.
Yeah.
About wanting to get another quarterback in for Richardson to compete with.
Yeah.
I think if you feel that way, Stafford's a good option.
Yeah.
2 or 3 years, it's a very winnable division.
Absolutely.
And Richardson sits. Gets more mature, learns, develops. If he's going to get better, if he's going to become a true starting quarterback in the NFL, there's almost nobody better to do it under than Stafford. I understand they have two completely different play styles. I'm not unimmune to that. I'm not unaware of that.
I think it would be better.
But
because here's the thing. Here's why I think it would be better for him to be under Stafford. Stafford's play style is throwing the goddamn football.
Is learn how to throw the ball. Learn how to sit in the pocket and throw the ball.
You can, Anthony Richardson doesn't need to be taught how to run like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
He'll never be Lamar on the ground, but
he's closer. Honestly, he's closer to Josh Allen with his size.
But my point being, you wouldn't want him.
He needs to learn how to throw the ball.
You wouldn't want him under Lamar to learn how to run. I don't think that's the problem. So put him up.
So that's fair. That's a fair statement. So yeah, I think. Okay, so I guess 3. Those would be the 3 spots or the teams that I think should make a genuine push for the trade.
Fair enough. Yeah. No. Again, all for the Rams doing it. If the Rams want to be stupid, the Rams want to be stupid. I'm not going to stop them.
I'd like him to stay in the NFC. I think it's real bullshit that like all of them
Or AFC?
are in the AFC. And I swear to God, if my division becomes Lamar, Burrow, and Stafford, I'ma be fucking pissed. I'ma be fucking
Okay.
pissed.
Could you imagine then if the Browns got a good quarterback?
I don't even want to talk about the Browns potentially getting a good quarterback. It's so that's the thing, right? Is one of them of the AFC North is always supposed to be a shithole. And right now, unfortunately, that is the Browns. Your fault, you made that bet, but I would like it to stay that way.
Fair enough.
Right? Like two teams have great quarterbacks, one team has a great defense, and one is just kind of a giant pile of crap. Stay that way. Lose Myles Garrett, don't get a good quarterback, and just fade off into nothing. Just be this team I have to deal with twice a year. Just be like, yeah, you're here. Okay, bye. That's what I want.
Fair. That's how I feel about the Rams. So I mean, like,
Like just fade off. You pretty much have that in the Cardinals, though. You have like
yeah,
just fade off into nothingness.
yeah. Especially since they re-signed Murray. Oh, that was so stupid. Oh, whatever. Who cares?
It's crazy to think about that contract now.
Yeah.
Because when it happened, we were like, holy crap, it's so big. Oh my God, you can't play video games. What's happening? And now it just looks even worse.
Yeah, now it's just
I'm
like,
like, for the love of God.
well, you know, make stupid decisions.
Fuck around and find out, I guess.
Here's the funny thing. Could every team in the NFC West make a stupid quarterback decision this year? Yes, I think
Help
they
me out. West.
Okay.
That's yours, right?
Yeah.
That's
So, okay. Cardinals made a stupid decision with Kyler Murray by giving him that
yeah.
contract. The Rams could make a stupid decision by trading Matthew Stafford. The Seahawks can make a stupid decision by not drafting a quarterback in preparation for Geno Smith eventually retiring, or not planning for the future because Geno Smith is not the future. And the 49ers could make a really dumb decision by giving Brock Purdy a fuck ton of money.
That was another press conference point this weekend, or this week. His John Lynch and Purdy's agent are both at the combine, and they both are talking. They want to get him a deal done. That number is very important. Here's the problem. And I don't know if I've said this on here, so I'd like to. I'd like to have this documented.
Mm-hmm.
I think quarterbacks at this point, that contract situation should mimic the superstar contract in the NBA.
You've definitely said this. But yeah.
You have to have criteria or goals or achievements, accolades, that's the word, to make that kind of money.
Yes, we've had this discussion on the
Like,
podcast.
unfortunately, I think by definition, Purdy would fall under that category. You've been to a Super Bowl. I just don't think he's worth $60 million. Like, but as him, I would have a really hard time taking less than that.
That's kind of why I'm hoping the 49ers just give it to him, because that would be a stupid decision. Like, obviously, I don't think re-signing Purdy itself is a stupid decision, but I think giving Purdy
No, it's the number.
$60 million is a stupid decision.
Here's the thing, though, genuinely, I wouldn't want them to give Lamar $60 million. And I think he's worth that. But what that does to your cap is insane.
At this point, I think I would give Lamar 60, just because the cap keeps going up. And it's one of those
I
things.
would give it to him. I'd be like, here you go. Have a great day. I just would like struggle.
No, that's fair.
Because even with the cap going up, you're still going to be hindered. Then I'm watching my tight end room walk out the door. I just don't. I wish it was structured a little differently where maybe quarterbacks
Had a
it didn't
cap,
count against the cap, or like maybe it counted a little differently. Like,
or there was a
I don't
max
know. Yeah. But or like you can go over the cap based off like your quarterback's like
percentage.
yeah, like maybe like you can go over by like 4% of your quarterback's yearly or some shit. I don't know. But it's just the number. And I think but as per one, I'll never kill a player for getting the money.
No,
Like
I will
like if
kill.
you get 60 million out of the 49ers, good for you.
I kill the team for offering it.
Yeah. But as if he wasn't Mr. Irrelevant, when you've made less than $1 million as your base salary and taken your team to the heights you have, I would have a hard time going, you owe me back pay. It's not just about what I'm worth going forward, it's about what I'm owed because of what I've accomplished.
Yeah.
As Purdy and as Purdy's agent.
No, it's an interesting conversation. I just don't know how it's going to go. Again, I feel like the 49ers are a smart organization, so I don't think they'll fall into the trap of giving him 60 million. I think it'll
Yeah,
come closer to the range of like 35, 40. My
I
guess.
think I think that's what I would value him at.
Yes.
I don't know that you get away with less than 50. I don't know that he signs for less than 50.
50 would be my max. Anything more, I think you let him walk. Or
Well,
you
and that's like I think that's the thing with him is and the concern he's only on year 3. Like this is the first time you can do it. They still have another 1 to 2. No, at 7 you don't have a 5th year option. They still have one more
Yeah.
year with him.
Yeah.
So you could wait and be like, "Hey, you need to play out this last year."
You could.
But then you run the risk.
Of him like winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and then now it's definitely 60.
Yeah. But at that point, I think you might be more willing to pay the 60 for a Super Bowl
So,
winning quarter. Like,
yeah.
I guess it depends. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he should at talent and capability. He should sit around Baker's contract.
Yeah,
As him, I wouldn't sign less than 50. As the Niners, I wouldn't offer more than 50.
yeah.
More than 50, I'd make him wait.
I think yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Thinking about it.
A good off season, like I think it would be stupid of them to not have a decision made going into OTAs. Even if it's like, hey, we're gonna wait. We couldn't get it done.
Wait.
We're gonna wait. That needs to be decided by OTAs.
Yeah.
Or at least the start of training camp. Don't do the same bullshit you did with Ayuk and Williams. Purdy probably won't like hold out,
No.
but you don't want your quarterback to be dealing with contract negotiations and camp.
Yeah. That is a fascinating one. Hmm. Guess we'll see what happens with
I
it.
think that's like the biggest. I
What
mean,
if?
it was, and then the Rams were like, maybe we'll trade Stafford. So who the fuck knows?
Um, there's one more thing in the NFL, like
Yeah,
one other team. The Jacksonville Jaguars finally hired their GM. They
they
hired
did.
James Gladstone. Um, he is, I think, the youngest GM in the league now. He's only like 34.
Yeah.
So they're going for youth. They're going for a youth movement. They have I think they have the youngest aggregate GM head coach in the league. If you add the two ages together,
Okay.
I believe that is true because their head coach is like 38.
Hmm.
Um, so a really random thing. I'm pretty sure their head coach and their GM ages combined is younger than Pete Carroll is. Just a
That is interesting. That's a
little
fun.
fun tidbit. So yeah, um,
I'm I'm intrigued that it took so long.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's what you get for firing him late in the
I mean, that's
process.
fair. That's fair.
Like they fired him so late.
I just have real questions then about
The combine plan,
and
like
and your off season. Like,
yeah,
how productive of an off season can you have when you've just gotten your GM into the building?
I don't know, but I do know he's at
Like,
least at the
I'm
combine.
hoping someone's been directing it.
I do know he's currently at the combine. So for him, that's
Well,
got to
that's
be a
something.
fun turnaround.
Yeah, to be like, oh, okay, I guess I'm doing this. Um, yeah, I just look, Jacksonville is not, they're not like an A plus organization. Um, Interesting to note. We didn't really have time to look at it. Maybe we'll talk more about it next week.
Grades came out
The
for
grades
the
came out.
player
Um,
association grades.
but we haven't had time to look, so we'll talk about them more next week.
Yeah, they came out today prior to recording.
So
So
we'll yeah, we'll get into them next week. That'll be a good talking point next week. But they're not that. They're not an elite organization. But goddamn, have some standards.
yeah, they're
Let's
an interesting
try.
one. I think they should move in your tier list that you do for teams.
Yeah, there is going to definitely be some movement. Um,
Um,
there's going to be some movement, and yeah, I have a spot.
yeah, yeah,
I have
yeah,
a very specific category for teams like
yeah, yeah.
that.
Me and you are on the same wavelength there.
What I think is going to be interesting is I was actually thinking about it the other day. That tier has gotten in my brain quite a bit bigger than I ever intended. I have like 5 teams I think I'm
Okay.
moving into that tier.
Oh, moving in.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. This is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun when we get to it. I'm excited.
um, because I was giving some benefit of the doubt, and now I'm like, okay, like this is where we're at.
Yeah. Well,
So yeah, definitely been an interesting week for football. Interesting couple of days. Off season's always interesting, but
yeah.
with the combine, we hear more from GMs this time of year than we usually do,
Yes.
and to kind of know where every team is at and their mission statement is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because it's really what
One
we're
thing
figuring out.
I did want to give a shout out to Zach Martin.
Yes, he did return.
Long time
Dallas Cowboy.
O lineman, Dallas Cowboy. He's a great player, Hall of Famer. Um, did announce his retirement.
Yep.
It's players like him that like I don't root for the Cowboys. Like I don't want the Cowboys to win a championship, but I wish he had gotten one. You know what I
I
mean?
wish they
Like
were better because he
multiple All
deserved.
Pros, multiple Pro Bowls.
So
He deserved a championship.
this stat was floating around. I don't know the legitimacy of it. Never got to fact check it myself. If it's wrong, I apologize. But it's something I heard in multiple credit, like Rappaport posted it. I think Schefter did something. So
Okay.
I'm assuming it's true. In his entire career of pass blocking, He has not been called for holding.
Holy shit.
And that is only pass blocking. He has been called for holding.
On run blocking, that's
yeah.
a little different. Yeah.
But in
It's
terms
kind
of
of crazy, though.
pass blocking, since he joined the Cowboys, it's never been called for holding. So
That's some elite shit right there. That's some elite shit. Team of the week, we are sticking in the NFC North. The Minnesota Vikings.
Came second
You
in the
read
NFC
off.
North.
Yep.
Yes, and I have their cap in front of me. So they are
Nice.
working with projected $63 million in cap space. So
Ooh.
pretty solid amount.
Yeah.
So obviously they do have some question marks. Obviously at the quarterback position is one of them. Do they re-sign Sam Darnold? It does look like they'd have the cap space to do it. And that's really the big one for them in terms of re-signs. They do have a couple more, but Sam Darnold is the major one, and I think the one that we are going to focus on today.
Yeah.
Because I think that was something that we had talked about earlier. So yeah, $63 million. They do have their own draft pick this year in the first round. So everything there should be okay for them. Obviously, with the Sam Darnold question marks, their cap space might fluctuate a little bit in terms of how much they're going to have for other shit in terms of bringing in new free agents.
So it's interesting that they have so much cap space. One, just as a general rule, but two, like I think Sam Darnold's franchise tag amount is 40 million.
Yes.
So that still gives you 23 to work with if you chose to do that. A report did come out that they are interested in potentially getting a deal done or something with him. I don't think it would be long term. I think like 2 years at most, probably, because of McCarthy. But it's interesting that they have so much cap space. You leave a little wiggle room to potentially get a deal done with him if you wanted to. I think they have real concerns at O-line. Their O-line is not built for pressure or for rush or the blitz. So maybe shore up some that. And potentially, I think their secondary
does need some work.
Need some work. But this is a team that drafts really well. They do develop really well. Obviously, Kevin O'Connell was coach of the year very deservingly. I think the NFC North is still a competitive division.
Oh shit.
And what?
I think that might have not been taken into account. Their cap space might be less than I think it is.
Okay.
Because I don't think they have his cap space listed right.
Who?
Okay, never mind. Because Justin Jefferson signed that contract extension, he does have one more year on his rookie deal.
Gotcha.
So his rookie deal is still in
I was like, I thought it didn't quite kick in yet.
His rookie deal is in play in 2025, and then 2026, his
then
new
it
contract
is. Okay.
hits.
I would think then, if you wanted to re-sign Sam, you franchise tag him.
Yeah.
While you have the space now, rather than a long-term deal that's going to eat into the cap and then compete with Jefferson. Tag him. See what you get out of JJ.
Because, yeah, in 2026, his salary jumps to 25, essentially. It's 24, 99, 90, 25. Call it 25.
Okay.
It's 10,000 short. It's 25 million.
So yeah, I would think if you wanted to keep Sam, you would just tag him at that point.
I think that's the play, especially because I think their salary cap situation can easily jump up, just depending on a couple of triggers. If you restructure a couple of people and some other stuff, I'm curious on something
Okay.
because I do know this a little better. Because I don't know is how they're factoring something out. Okay. So that projection is without them triggering any like bonuses, restructuring
Okay.
anybody, cutting anybody. That is from what the cap has increased, like the maximum the cap can increase to, is what that projection is.
Okay.
I just want to see how those like place I'm looking at does it.
Yeah.
So I looked at Seattle because I know what Seattle's rough estimate was. So yeah, they are working with $60 million before they even touch any contracts. So they could easily tag Darnold for 40 and have 20 million left then, and then have some openings somewhere else. So
To play around with.
yeah. So yeah.
So that's a really good spot to be in. I I I will not argue with whatever they do. Kevin O'Connell has more than proven that it's kind of like the decision they make is the right decision. If he chooses to move on from Darnold, I will respect that. If they go, hey, we want to tag him one more year, I think because they brought in Daniel Jones, because of how excited they were about JJ, as long as his recovery is on track,
They should.
I think they'll let him walk.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, they can clear up so much cap space. I'm just looking at it.
Okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. They'll be set up great. Even if they give him the tag at 40, they'll be able to sign plenty of people. Because Aaron Jones is a void year. Cutting him, I think, opens 3.2 mil.
Do you think they cut him?
I'm not saying I don't know. They could. I'm just saying what they could do to open up cap space. And I do think that's a possibility considering how good this running back draft is.
That's fair.
This is like an incredible running back draft. So I do think that is a genuine possibility of them cutting him, get that 3.2 million is what I said.
Yeah, clear up even more.
And then get a younger and cheaper option. Something I can see happening.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think the Minnesota Vikings are in pretty solid position here, especially if
I mean,
the draft
you've
goes well.
got roughly 60 million in open cap.
Mm-hmm.
And at worst case scenario, too many quarterbacks.
Yeah.
What's the fucking problem?
And one of them is a first round rookie that you have 5 years cost control.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good to me.
So I don't know that there's a team better set up in the fucking league, honestly. That's insane.
I don't think there is. I think you're right.
You have okay, if you tag Darnold, you have 20 million in open cap, a first round quarterback learning, and a veteran that can get you to the playoffs. Like,
yeah, no, there's not a better team that I can think of that is set up better.
this is the team. This is what the Falcons thought they were last year. But we know this is what they actually are because Darnold was better than they thought he was going to be, and Cousins was not.
Yes. Okay.
So they are if they tag Darnold, they're what the Falcons were hoping they were going to be.
Yeah. That's another
with 3 valid quarterbacks in the room.
Definitely great position for them to be in. It's not even close in terms of I feel like teams in a good position. Maybe.
And go ahead.
maybe somebody like the Patriots or the Commanders. Just looking at it, you know, the Commanders might be because they have like 82 million in projected cap, and Jaden
Yeah,
Daniels.
but I feel like the Commanders just have more holes than the Vikings do.
And yet they made it to the NFC Championships. I
No,
mean,
I mean that's fair. That's fair. That's a valid point. And
so
then when you look at the Vikings from like a division standpoint, the Bears are a lot of unknowns. The Packers, I think the hype came down because Love didn't have the season people were hoping he was going to have. And then the Lions just lost
their
all of their
coaching staff,
coordinators.
other than Dan Campbell.
So I think the Vikings are, I don't want to say primed to take the division. I think the Lions will give them a run. I think the Packers have potential if they make the right offseason moves and Love stays healthy. I have very little hope for the Bears. Obviously, we'll talk about those other teams in the coming weeks. But I think the Vikings are in a great position to kind of hit the ground running and make a real play for the division.
Yeah, they could make a play because they were one game off of the conference. To
Yeah.
me, I'm gonna make a bold.
I mean,
I
they
think
were.
the Vikings could be the conference favorites next year, if their offseason goes well. Um, define that how you will, but like you were one win away from the conference.
Yeah.
So, and again, Vikings, not the Lions got worse, or like possibly got worse.
Yeah.
We don't know what the Bears
There are
are.
questions.
We don't know what the
I
Bears
mean,
are, and the Packers. We kind of know what they are, and they're on the up, but they're not quite
they're
there
on the
yet.
up. They need some off-season moves. You need Love to take that next step.
Yeah, dude.
But that's a great position to be in. Holy shit.
Yeah. I think seriously, the only team I would put at a better position is the Commanders, and that's just
Yeah.
because of what they accomplished this year with Jaden.
And
Like,
you still have a quarterback. I mean, it's really impressive to be that good and basically have your quarterback's cap hit already available.
mm-hmm.
Like his post rookie deal already available, and to be as good as you
Yeah.
are.
Damn. Well, we'll see what happens with that, but yeah. Vikings in an incredible position, could be favorites for the conference. Favorites for their division is a given with that. But it's a wait and see game. Obviously, I think they'll have a
Yeah,
pretty solid offseason just based on how that team's ran. Kevin O'Connell
a
being
good
fantastic
organization.
coach. Their GM is pretty solid. So yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens with the Vikings. But yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, I think next week we will probably talk Green Bay Packers.
mm-hmm.
Keep the train rolling with the NFC North. And yeah, we'll do Packers talk next week, along with obviously Players Association grades, any other news that comes up.
Yeah,
We'll of course talk basketball, hockey, all the fun stuff.
yeah, sounds like a
To just
plan.
look ahead a bit.
Sounds like a plan. With all that being said, I think that does it for us today. Unless you had something else.
I did not.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, that's it for us today. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, let us know what your takes. Where you think the Vikings will be next year, or I guess this upcoming season. Do they re-sign Darnold? Do they stick with McCarthy? Do they do something else?
And what would you do if you
Yeah.
were the
Well,
Vikings?
what would you do? If I was the Vikings, I would re-sign Darnold
I'd
to
give it.
the
I'd give
tag.
him the franchise tag.
I'll be
I'd
more
tag him.
specific, to the tag,
Yeah.
and then
Because
see.
then, if nothing else, maybe you can get a trade out of him.
Yeah,
Like, don't let him walk for free.
trade him. See what you got in McCarthy. Sounds pretty awesome for the Vikings. But yeah, so yeah, make sure to leave a comment. Let us know. That being said, I've been Brendan.
And I've been Dallas.
Thank you.